and welcome back to the channel. Today, we re-diving deep into one of the most cautionary tales in tech history, the spectacular fall of Nokia. How did a company that was once the undisputed king of mobile phones, with a market value soaring over $300 billion, end up selling its entire mobile division for just a fraction of that? It's a story of innovation, missed opportunities, and a lesson that every business, big or small, needs to remember. So grab your popcorn because we're about to dissect Nokia's $300 billion mistake. Let's rewind to the late 90s and early 2000s. If you had a mobile phone back then, chances are it was a Nokia. The company was an absolute powerhouse. They didn't just sell phones, they defined an entire era. Remember the Nokia 3310? That thing was indestructible. You could drop it, step on it, and it would just keep going. Their phones were known for their amazing battery life, user-friendly interfaces, and iconic designs. They were pioneers in mobile gaming with Snake, a game that became a global phenomenon. At its peak, Nokia held over 40% of the global mobile phone market share. To put that in perspective, that's more than Apple and Samsung combined hold today. They were on top of the world, synonymous with mobile technology itself. They were innovative, they had brilliant engineers, and their brand was one of the most recognized on the planet. So where did it all go wrong? The turning point came in 2007. Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and introduced the world to the iPhone. It wasn't just a new phone, it was a completely new category of device. A full touchscreen, a revolutionary operating system called iOS, and something called the App Store, which would change how we use our phones forever. Around the same time, another major player entered the scene, Google's Android. It was an open-source platform that allowed any manufacturer to build their own smartphone. This was the start of the smartphone revolution, and Nokia was caught completely off guard. Here's the core of the mistake. Nokia saw the iPhone, they saw Android, but they fundamentally misunderstood the shift. They were a hardware company through and through. They believed their strength was in building superior physical phones. They looked at the iPhone and thought, it's just one phone, doesn't even have a physical keyboard, and the battery life is terrible. They saw Android as a fragmented, complex system that couldn't compete with their polished Symbian OS. But what they failed to grasp was that the game had changed from hardware to software and ecosystems. People weren't just buying a phone anymore. They were buying into an ecosystem of apps, services, and a seamless user experience. Nokia's own operating system, Symbian, which had served them so well in the feature phone era, was clunky and outdated for the new world of touchscreens and apps. Developing apps for Symbian was difficult, so developers flocked to iOS and Android, creating a vibrant app ecosystem that Nokia just couldn't match. Their leadership was described as being complacent and suffering from internal politics. Different departments were fighting each other instead of fighting the competition. They clung to Symbian for far too long, convinced that their brand loyalty and hardware superiority would see them through. By the time they finally woke up to the threat, it was tragically too late. They made a last-ditch effort by partnering with Microsoft in 2011 to use the Windows Phone operating system. While the Lumia phones they produced were critically acclaimed for their design and camera technology, the Windows Phone ecosystem never gained the traction it needed. The app gap was just too wide. Developers weren't making apps for Windows Phone because there weren't enough users. Users weren't buying Windows phones because their favorite apps weren't there. It was a vicious cycle. From being the undisputed leader, Nokia's market share collapsed in just a few short years. Financial losses were staggering. Their market value, which once peaked at over $300 billion, plummeted. In 2014, in a move that symbolized the end of an era, Nokia sold its devices and services division to Microsoft. The once mighty king of mobile phones had been dethroned, and its empire had crumbled. The $300 billion mistake wasn't a single bad decision, but a cascade of them, all stemming from a failure to recognize and adapt to a fundamental market shift. The lesson from Nokia's story is crystal clear. No matter how big you are, no matter how dominant your position is, you must constantly innovate and be willing to disrupt yourself before someone else does it for you. Complacency is the silent killer of giants. What do you guys think? Did you own a Nokia back in the day? What was your favorite model? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to read your stories. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. See you in the next one.